Hi there, everybody. Dave here from Hey You Guys, and we are here with yet another review. And this time, Stefan saw this film in an actual real-life cinema. Woohoo! Yeah, loving life. So I've ruined it already, but Stefan Pape is joining me today. Stefan, give us a hello.
Hello.
There's you, nailed it. And Linda Marric, who I said last time all the way from Dorking, and I'll say it again. She's still all the way from Dorking. Just because it's where I ride my bike, Dorking. So I like Dorking. Anyway, Stefan, real life cinema, real life film, real life people you sat with. Did you have to wear a mask? How was it?
Yeah, so it was very, very well done. I have to credit Picture House Cinemas and Warner Brothers for this, because it was, you sort of got there, everyone was in masks. In the actual cinema, only one toilet was being used so that they could kind of control it. They had a security guard there who was making sure everyone had their masks on the whole time. And they allocated you a seat. So when I walked in, I had my seat number, and everyone was spaced out across the cinema. So it was really well done. I mean, obviously, this is the Picture House, which is a huge, big cinema in central London. The hard thing that's going forward is how they're going to control the smaller screening rooms when there's, because there was probably about 20 to 30 people, I'd say, there yesterday, in a big auditorium that probably has 150 seats. So it was very well spaced out. But what this means for the future, I'm not sure. But in this instance, it was very well done. I felt very safe, and also got to see a movie on the big screen, and I didn't fall asleep. So this is so many good things happened yesterday.
No, that is good. And obviously, like Stefan said, this has been a very strange time because all the films that we've reviewed over the last 4 or 5 months have all been screeners, which is they're becoming more common, but not for big films like this. So it's just nice to have a big movie on a big screen, sitting with people and actually enjoying it. So An American Pickle, again, I've not seen this film. I'm just here to not even look pretty, because I can't do that because this is but both Linda and Stefan have seen the film. So Stefan, do you want to tell us a bit about what it's about, and we'll go from there?
Yeah, sure. So it's about it's sort of set, 100 years ago, initially, about a man called Herschel Greenbaum and his wife, and it's played by Seth Rogen and Sarah Snook, and they move as very poor immigrants. They move over to America, and he gets a job in a pickle factory. One day, however, he falls off a kind of some sort of bat thing at the top, I can't remember what they're called, falls into a vat of brine, and he just stays there. And then 100 years later, these two kids open up the container full of the pickle brine, and he's been perfectly preserved for 100 years. And he comes back into a modern day Brooklyn, New York, that he absolutely has no idea about, and goes to lodge with his only living relative, which is his great grandson, Ben, also played by Seth Rogen. And it's about their relationship and how a man from the past has to navigate his quite backwards, old-fashioned ways in a very contemporary, progressive society.
So I didn't know anything about this film, or there's me. That sounds really fun. Linda, is it really fun?
It is huge fun. I loved this film. I am a big Seth Rogen fan anyway, and I watch anything he's in. And I just think this is so cleverly done, written by Simon Rich, who also writes for Saturday Night Live, writes for the New Yorker, and I think it's an adaptation. The film is an adaptation of one of his short stories called Sellout. What I loved about this film is that it's an amalgamation of everything that's wrong with the world right now. It addresses cancel culture, social commentary, addresses people getting in trouble for saying things that are slightly sort of out of the way everyone thinks nowadays. It also it makes fun of sort of Brooklyn and the way it used to be and how it is now, and the whole hipster scene. I loved everything about this, and I think him playing the two characters so brilliantly well. I was so impressed by Seth Rogen. I mean, and also I found it just really, really moving in the way he sort of tried to sort of intertwine his own history of sort of Jewish immigrants into who he is right now. I really love this film, and I love Seth Rogen, and I just completely unexpected. I was expecting to really not gel with this at all, and I really loved it.
Excellent. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, it was such because obviously, there's so many things going wrong in the world today, and there's so many, like you mentioned, in all the different sort of things that humanity seems to be doing in an annoying fashion at the moment, and to come and look at that from the perspective of someone who lived 100 years ago was a really great, quite funny way to kind of look at the world, because it gives us a new perspective of realizing sometimes some of the situations we seem to have got ourselves in, and kind of some of them in a kind of quite funny way, and some of them is actually quite a sort of social kind of political, quite satirical way. But I just think it's funny with this film, because I think I was anticipating like an elf, where he was going to wake up one day and it was in brine, and then it was going to be about this man who just doesn't fit in. But it wasn't like that as much. It wasn't as comedic as that. It wasn't him on an escalator at a shopping mall understanding how it works. It was more about communication and politics and society and that sort of stuff. And I thought that was quite an interesting. It veered away from the kind of slapstick stuff which I anticipated it would do about a kind of a man from 100 years waking up in the present day. I thought it would be about, oh my God, wow, look at those trains or something like that. But it wasn't like that. It was much more about society, which I liked. I agree about Seth Rogen as well. I thought he was really good in the two lead roles. And I think he managed to play the Herschel character, without being overly kind of caricature, which you do get sometimes when actors take on roles from kind of Eastern Europe and Central Europe with the accent and stuff. It actually felt quite subtle and quite sincere in many ways. So I really like that. I think the only problem is, it seems silly kind of moaning about this, but there are so many holes in this story, which is kind of a stupid thing to say, because it's about a man who pickles himself. So of course it's stupid. But at the same time, I just feel like the fact that there were so many things that I just kept thinking that wouldn't work like that, or that wouldn't happen like that. And I know obviously you have to suspend your disbelief. Yeah. But for example, just the fact that right at the beginning he comes back and there's a press conference to announce that this man has just woken up from 100 years in brine, and then the next scene he's living with no one knows who he is, and he's selling pickles on the street, but actually he'd be like the most famous person in the world, this man from the past. But so there's a few narrative plot holes that jarred me, but ultimately that's not what this film was trying to do. This is a comment on society and a satire and an excuse for Seth Rogen to flex his kind of comedic muscles, and I think on all of those fronts he succeeded.
It sounds like a sort of film right now, right, Linda?
Yeah, look, I think it's fine. It's an absurdist comedy, and I think with that kind of genre, there is a lot of leeway in sort of narrative plot holes, and I don't really mind. And I think I am prepared to sort of ignore those, because the points that it actually gets right are the most important points, and they're the ones that I've chosen to sort of look into. And I think really what is really good about this is just sort of it's almost like a state of the nation type thing, and I think a state of sort of where we were and how we were and where we are now. I mean, the difference between this guy who's so desperate, his whole family was killed by the Cossacks, and then ends up living with someone whose only problem is that he doesn't like the taste of his kombucha. It's just ridiculous, like the sort of the difference in the sort of where we were and how we are. And I also really admired the way Seth Rogen played him. Seth Rogen, who is also an Ashkenazi Jew, and has history of sort of a family, and I think he did it. I think there are loads of the way he played him wasn't caricatural at all. I thought it was really well done, and I really loved there's a scene at the end where they're watching Yentl, which made me really laugh. I just found it so touching. I'm not going to give away the ending because that'd be really silly, but I found the ending extremely touching, to the point where I actually had a tear in my eye, and I really loved it. And he takes a story like that. No, let's not forget, this is, as I say, an absurdist comedy. There are some ideas in it that are set up like skits. We've done this bit and then we've done this bit, so it's very much in that kind of Saturday Night Live vein. But it does the best it can do with the script. But it's also like a really good story, and I was really hugely impressed by it.
Yeah, and you're right about it sort of focusing on the right parts of it, because like we said, it is absurd. And there's one point where they're talking about the science and how a man could pickle himself in brine, and then he does a kind of voiceover and says, and then they explained the science to it, which was really convincing, and kind of made a joke of it. So it did actually address its more absurdist points and kind of play up to them. But you're right, it was I think really the best thing about this was the balancing act. It managed to be really stupid and really absurd, and yet actually deal with so many different things. It didn't feel like it was box ticking. It didn't feel like it was going, right, now let's go after cancel culture, let's go after this. It actually felt like it managed to just bring in a whole myriad of different themes and conversation points and stuff, and really kind of explore them in a way that I think was quite successful. I think it's the sort of film that if you described to me, I would roll my eyes at and think, oh, here we go. But it was just executed really well, and I think I think anyone who, there's been a few people that go, oh, so Seth Rogen pickling himself, and I think they're expecting something quite a bit too asinine, but actually it's quite a clever movie that deserves more credit than it might get, than perhaps the trailer might show it off for. And I do urge people to give it a go, because I think it might surprise them.
Yeah, and I'm so impressed with the roles he's picking lately. I really liked that the romantic comedy he did last year. Was it last year or the year before with Charlize Theron? I think he's a fantastic actor, Seth Rogen in general. I really genuinely, he's not just a comedy actor. I also like listening to what he has to say, and I mean, I know his latest interview in the Mark Maron podcast got him into a little bit of trouble, but I think I also find what he has to say about things really quite interesting. He's not just an actor, he's also someone who offers commentary about things in life, and I am forever impressed by him.
Yeah, and he does explore also, I was going to say, he explores the difference between being culturally and religiously Jewish, I think, which is a very interesting thing that obviously 100 years ago his Herschel couldn't quite understand. But actually today, there are many people, myself included, who are culturally Jewish but not religiously Jewish. And I think that was quite an interesting theme as well to explore. So, no, it had lots of great ideas, this film, yeah.
Awesome. That sounds like a hit. So what are we giving it, guys? Linda, what would you give it out of 5?
I really want to give it 5 out of 5, but as Stefan said, it's not perfect in some aspects. So I'm going to go for 4. But I wish I had the guts to just go 5 out of 5, 4 out of 5.
Maybe if we get, is it a 4.5?
Yeah.
4.5. We don't. Can we? Are we allowed halves?
Why not?
I'll do 4.5.
Yeah.
I'll do
no
4.5.
rules anymore, Linda. It's lockdown, baby.
4.5.
The reason I'm saying that is because I'd go 3.5. So I go below. So just under a 4 for me. But yeah, I did really enjoy it.
Excellent. That's really good to hear. Well, thanks so much, guys. If you're watching, do let us know in the comments when you've seen this movie. Amazingly, look at this poster, in cinemas, August 7th. Woohoo! Another one to see in the cinema. I mean, you'll have to wear a face mask and you can't sit with anyone else. But other than that, go to cinema.
That's the best thing to do. This is the best thing that could have happened to the cinemas, right? I don't have to sit next to anyone.
No, but just don't get your phone out. No phones. So do let us know when you've seen the movie, what you think of it. Don't forget to like and subscribe on the Hey You Guys YouTube channel. And thank you so much to Stefan and Linda for joining me as always. And we look forward to seeing you on whatever the next review is here on Hey You Guys. So take care. Bye.
Bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys.
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey You Guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yeah.
Nice.
Hey